Audible presents this Brilliance audio production of
Stephen Coonts' Deep Black Biowar, written by Stephen Coonts and Jim DeFelice. Chapter 1. Athens, New York was founded in the great rush of enthusiasm following the Revolutionary War, when Americans first came to understand that their destiny in the world involved more than religion and capitalism. Its inhabitants saw the experiment in freedom and democracy as a link with the great Greek and Roman republics, which had produced not merely riches or military might, though both were important, but intellectual and artistic achievements unparalleled in human history. The men and women who settled in upstate New York were as optimistic as any. If, like the majority of their countrymen, their lives tended more toward hard-scrabble than polished marble, they nonetheless were aimed in the right direction. This Dr. James Kegan firmly believed, and had told Charlie Dean often. It was why he had decided to relocate to the small town, buying and restoring a dilapidated Federal-period house perched precariously on a cliff just off the main drag. He could see the Hudson River from his porch. He would sit there some nights and gaze at the glittering reflections in the distance, reminding himself of man's potential and nature's power. Or so he told Charlie. Dean tolerated his friend's starry-eyed philosophizing for two reasons. One, he'd known Kegan just about all of his life, and even though they hardly saw each other more than once or twice a year, still counted him among his best friends. Two, he figured Kegan meant pretty much everything he said. Whether or not Dean understood it, and most of what the microbiologist said, Dean didn't understand. Kegan and Dean had grown up together in Missouri in the late 1950s and early 60s. While in many ways the two men could not be more different, their friendship had endured the many twists and turns of their convoluted and complicated lives. Kegan, more often Keys, a nickname earned during their first JV basketball practice a million years ago, was one person Dean felt he really knew. Their many differences somehow encouraged their friendship. Dean was relatively taciturn. Kegan was always talking and making friends. Dean had, if not a skeptical view of the world, at least a somewhat hardened one. Kegan remained an optimistic do-gooder, despite the fact that his early forays into altruism had ended badly. 2 years ago, Kegan had been diagnosed with cancer, but he'd come through it okay, survived the chemo with his optimism intact. He talked about it matter-of-factly, didn't bullshit about it. He hit it straight on, just like he played basketball. It was one of the things Dean liked about him. Dean turned off Route 9W, driving his rented Malibu through the tiny downtown, as he hunted for the crossroad that led to Kegan's. He missed it and had to turn around. As he waited for a bus to pass, he saw an old phone booth and thought of calling his friend to make sure he was home. But the trip had begun as a surprise, and it seemed ridiculous to spoil it now, 5 minutes from his driveway. He made the U-turn and went back, cutting down toward the river and driving slowly so he could find the sharp cut that led to the house. The Malibu dipped and groaned as he took the switchbacks on the gravel lane. Dean's attention was attracted to a large car carrier making its way upriver to Albany past a pack of sunfish sailboats. He jerked his attention back on the driveway just before he would have sideswiped an 80-year-old maple. He corrected and took the next switchback, avoiding the temptation to look down the rock gorge to his left. One more turn, and he reached the macadam that ran around the back of the house to the garage and barn. Dean pulled around the side of the barn, glad to see Kegan's sob. He made sure as he parked to leave enough space for the afternoon of hoops he anticipated. A wooden porch extended around 3/4 of the building. Dean jogged up the steps and rapped on the wooden portion of the large front door. The house did not have a bell, and Kegan refused to add even a wireless one. "Hey, Keys, it's Charlie!" he yelled before rapping again. "Surprise, Keys!" Dean glanced at his watch. It was a little past 9 a.m. Kegan was a notorious early riser. He rapped again. Kegan rarely locked his front door. There was less need to here than back home in Missouri, and there was little need to do so there. Sure enough, when Dean tried the handle, the door opened. It was possible, just, that Kegan was upstairs bedding some nubile lab assistant. Dean hesitated on the threshold, caught between wanting to be discreet and sensing the inherent humor of just that sort of situation. In the end,